Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to a news cycle on Global TV, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Uyi Agmofwegbe, reminding our viewers that we are on DSTV channels 365 and Star Times 276. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Uzo Kalu as a commissioner of the National Assembly Service Commission representing the Southeast Zone. Kalu took the oath of office and allegiance at the council chambers of the State House in Abuja shortly before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting. His confirmation by the Senate on May 20 followed the adoption of the Establishment and Public Service Committee's report, with the upper chamber noting that an earlier petition against his nomination had been investigated and dismissed by the Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions Committee. President Bola Tinubu has approved a one-year extension of the tenure of Controller General of Customs Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, allowing him to remain in office until August 2026. The extension, announced by Presidential aide Bayo Onanuga, is aimed at enabling Adeniyi to consolidate key reforms, including the National Single Window Project and the African Continental Free Trade Area obligations. Adeniyi was initially appointed in acting capacity in June of 2023 and confirmed in October of the same year. In a related development, President Bola Tinubu has appointed Professor Don Baridam as Pro-Chancellor and Professor Chinedu Umam as Vice-Chancellor of the newly established Federal University of Environment and Technology, Koroma Sakbenwa Goni in Rivers State, along with other governing council members. The appointments, announced by presidential spokesperson Bayo Onanuga, include professionals from across Nigeria, such as Emmanuel Onoja, Hamid Adekule, Professor Chima Oji, and Abdullahi Lamda, to ensure regional balance. The institution, signed into law in February this year, is scheduled to admit its first students in September, with key administrative roles also filled by experienced academics and administrators. Vice President Kashif Shettima has called on top officials from Food and Agriculture Organization, International Fund for Agricultural Development, and World Food Programme to assist in reviving the Lake Chad region as well as boosting year-round agriculture. The Vice President made the call during bilateral meetings at the United Nations Feed Systems Summit in Ethiopia. He highlighted the region's vast agricultural potential, linking it to national food security and the Green Revolution project chaired by the Tinubu administration. The House of Representatives has begun deliberations on a controversial bill proposing to move the Nigeria Safety Investigation Bureau, NSIB, from the Ministry of Aviation to the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. While the proposal aims to enhance independence and coordination across the transport sector, it has sparked sharp division among stakeholders. National Assembly correspondent Anietia Patrick now reports.
At a public hearing in Abuja, the atmosphere was tense as aviation stakeholders clashed over a bill seeking to reposition the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau under the presidency.
While it may have the political support, but it will be lacking in technical activities. This indeed may dilute, the word is may dilute its domain-specific responsiveness. It will impede knowledge sharing and weaken the functional alignment with sector-specific agencies.
However, not everyone agreed. Representatives from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation and the Ministry of Special Duties backed the move, saying it will strengthen institutional independence and ensure broader oversight.
The Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation is a neutral, coordinating body, not involved in sector-specific operations. Domiciling NSIB under OSGF safeguards its objectivity, free from potential conflict of interest.
Sponsor of the bill, Honorable Isiaq Akinlade, argued that the current structure under the Aviation Ministry hinders the Bureau's effectiveness, citing institutional bottlenecks and overlapping mandates with agencies like the Federal Road Safety Commission and the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency.
This limitation undermines the Bureau's ability to fulfill its mandate due to institutional bottlenecks, lack of independence, and fragmented interagency coordinations across Nigeria's transport regulatory ecosystem.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, represented by Honorable Kwamoti Larry, welcomed the debate, describing the amendments as a step towards aligning Nigeria with international transport safety standards. Annie T. Patrick, Global Television News.
Thank you, Nietzsche. Some internally displaced persons, IDPs from various camps in Benue State, have thronged the Makurdi-Lafia Federal Highway, blocking the road and preventing vehicles from moving in or out of the state. The protest left many motorists and passengers stranded as the displaced persons expressed deep frustration over their prolonged stay in camps. Our Benue State correspondent Felicity Indere was there for us.
Chanting, "We want to return to ancestral home," the protesters took to the highway at Yewata, demanding urgent action from the government. In response, the Benue State government has set an operational team to assess the immediate needs of IDP communities and provide targeted intervention. Governor Hyacinthe earlier announced the formation of the team on Wednesday at the government house following the protests that blocked the Makurdi-Abuja highway.
My attention was called to the unfortunate protests by some members of the IDPs at the mega camp over their welfare.
This development comes just a day after the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, visited the state and announced a 1 billion donation for humanitarian services. Governor Alia's remarks were prompted by the growing demands of IDPs eager to return to their ancestral homes.
And this is why we could not wait for even 24 hours to click before we set up the machinery to ensure that the donation of the First Lady went to the appropriate channel to the IDPs. It is not just for the IDPs at the international market, it is for all the IDPs in the state, and they have to be reassured that what is theirs must go to them.
Later that day, the governor decorated 33 police officers attached to the government house who were recently promoted to new ranks. He charged them to redouble their efforts in securing Benue State and the nation. Those decorated include 1 assistant superintendent of police, 22 inspectors, and 10 sergeants. Felicity Ndere reporting for Global TV News.
Benue State correspondent Felicity Ndere there for us. We appreciate your reporting. Let's turn to other stories for you now. The Court of Appeal sitting in Akure, Ondo State capital, has affirmed the election of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa of the All Progressives Congress APC as the duly elected governor of Ondo State. The appellate court dismissed petitions filed by the People's Democratic Party PDP candidate Agbola Ajayi and others, citing lack of merit and reiterating earlier tribunal and Supreme Court rulings that upheld Aiyedatiwa's victory. Aiyedatiwa had won the November 16, 2024 governorship election with 366,000 votes, defeating his rivals across all 18 local government areas of the state. The interim spokesperson of the African Democratic Congress, Bolaji Abdullahi, says Peter Obi remains a member of the Labour Party, but has joined the ADC-led opposition coalition working toward the 2027 election. Speaking during a television program, Abdullahi revealed that Obi is granted time to conclude his political obligations before formally crossing over. He noted that the alliance which Obi joined in early July is a strategic step to building a stronger alternative political force in Nigeria. The National Orientation Agency has called on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to hand over full responsibility for voter education to it as part of efforts to improve electoral participation in Nigeria. Director General of the agency, Lanre Issa Onilu, made the appeal during a courtesy visit to INEC Chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, in Abuja. Aniyetia Patrick tells us more.
As Nigeria continues to battle voter apathy, the National Orientation Agency is pushing to take full charge of voter education across the country. The agency's Director General lamented the persistent low voter turnout in elections, including the recent Lagos State Council polls, which he said recorded only 6% participation. Issa Onilu said voter education is part of the National Orientation Agency's core mandate, but regretted that the agency lacks a dedicated budget for democracy education and is rarely acknowledged for its efforts.
We are here to seek collaboration to ensure that we prepare well for the coming off-season elections, and importantly for the general election that is almost here, and there's a lot to do. Considering the knowledge gap.
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, on his part, acknowledged the National Orientation Agency's strategic grassroots presence and emphasized the need for collaboration, describing election management as a multi-agency responsibility. Professor Yakubu praised the National Orientation Agency's recent initiatives like the NOA Content Factory, which uses television, radio, and newsletters to engage citizens, particularly young people, locally and abroad.
I would like us to explore further areas of partnership through our voter education and publicity and other relevant departments, particularly with the recent creation by the Commission of an Artificial Intelligence Division under our ICT department.
Both agencies say they will continue to explore stronger partnership opportunities ahead of the Anambra governorship election. Aniyetia Patrick, Global Television News.
The Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, BON, has announced the extension of the deadline for the submission of entries for the 2024 Nigeria Broadcasting Awards. A statement issued by the Secretary, the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards Steering Committee, Uthman Umar Bello, says entries will now close on August 30, 2025 for the awards scheduled to hold in October 2025. It further explained that the extension of the deadline follows numerous reports of technical difficulties experienced in submitting entries to meet the earlier deadline of July 31, 2025. The Nigeria Broadcasting Awards serves as a prestigious platform to recognize and celebrate excellence in the Nigerian broadcasting industry. The awards are in 12 categories across radio and television production and are open exclusively to member stations of BON. Nurses under the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives have begun a 7-day warning strike across federal hospitals, leaving patients unattended and healthcare services disrupted nationwide. The association's president, Morakinyo Rilwan, stated that the industrial action followed the expiration of a 15-day ultimatum over poor pay, unsafe conditions, staff shortages, and unpaid allowances. In Abuja's area councils and across several government hospitals, patients were seen waiting endlessly in corridors and reception areas without nurses in sight. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the Ministry of Education have agreed to introduce mandatory drug tests for students in tertiary institutions and revise secondary education curricula to include comprehensive drug education. The decision was announced after a meeting in Abuja between the agency's chairman, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, and Education Minister Dr. Maruf Alausa, who both expressed concern over the link between drug abuse and rising insecurity. Marwa noted that his agency has arrested over 40,000 suspects, securing more than 8,000 convictions and seizing drugs worth over 1 trillion naira in 2 years with support from President Tinubu's administration. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has dissolved the State Executive Council and named former Commissioner for Justice Moses Sotoka as his new Chief of Staff A statement by its Chief Press Secretary, Terso Kula, says the decision was made during the 12th meeting of the council held in Makurdi, the state capital. The governor thanked outgoing commissioners for their service, urging those not reappointed to continue contributing to the All Progressives Congress and Benue's development. The National Assembly is renewing efforts to boost women's participation in politics through the Reserved Seats for Women Bill, a proposed legislation aimed at closing Nigeria's gender gap in governance. National Assembly correspondent Aniete Patrick takes it from here.
Despite making up nearly half of Nigerians' population, women remain significantly underrepresented in politics. 14 state houses of assembly currently have no female members at all. The bill seeks to address this imbalance by creating one additional seat for women in both the Senate and the House of Representatives in all 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory. It also proposes 3 reserved seats for women in each state assembly, totaling 182 seats nationwide. Both chairpersons of the House and the Senate Committees on Women Affairs, Honorable Kafilat Ogbara and Senator Ireti Kingigbe, say increased female representation will drive development and tackle poverty more effectively.
By increasing women's representation, we can ensure that their perspectives, their views, needs, rights are adequately addressed in policy formulation and implementation.
So I advocate and call on all the women of this country to please go out, speak to the men, speak to everybody you can speak to get their support for these 74 reserved seats.
The United Nations Development Programme and other advocates, including former lawmaker Benila, are also lending their voices to the push, urging grassroots mobilization to ensure the bill passes.
Women currently occupy fewer than 5% of seats in the National Assembly. This isn't just a gap, it is a call to action. A call to dismantle structural barriers, disrupt the status quo, and build a more inclusive and just governance.
If passed, the bill could make a major turning point in Nigeria's political landscape, giving women a stronger voice in decision-making across all levels of government. Aniete Patrick, Global Television News.
Akora State High Court has sentenced Abdurrahman Bello to death by hanging for the brutal murder of Hafso Lawal, a final-year student of the College of Education in Ilorin. Justice Hannah Ajayi described the act as, quotes, cruel and wicked, unquote, noting that evidence confirmed the murder was for ritual purposes. 4 co-defendants were acquitted due to a lack of complicity. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle with Uyi Agmofwebe. When the rest of the broadcast returns shortly, the Tigers coach Wakama says Cameroon clash will be tough. Details coming, plus business and foreign stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us. The second part of this news broadcast now returns with business. The federal government says it has attracted over $791.49 million in private sector investments into Nigeria's compressed natural gas ecosystem between May and June this year, covering infrastructure, logistics, and conversion kits. The presidential CNG initiative also said a total of $980 million mobilized in 12 months, over 100,000 CNG kits deployed, and 1,440 vehicle conversions across 20 states, alongside the procurement of 807 CNG buses and over 5,000 tricycles. It says plans are underway to convert 1 million vehicles and train 25,000 autogas technicians by 2027, with officials saying the surge in investment stems from renewed policy direction and Nigeria's urgent need to leverage its natural gas reserves amid massive petrol subsidy costs. And now time to look at the foreign scene, where a South Korean court has issued a new arrest warrant for former President Yoon Suk-yeol over his refusal to appear for questioning in an ongoing insurrection and election tampering investigation. Yoon, previously detained for attempting to subvert civilian rule and sending troops to parliament, now faces renewed legal action alongside his wife. Prosecutors also allege involvement in unrelated corruption cases involving gifts from a religious group. At least 22 people, including a police officer, have died and over 1,200 arrested in Angola following violent protests triggered by a sharp rise in fuel prices, with medics in Luanda overwhelmed by casualties and warning that the real toll may be higher. The unrest, which started as a taxi strike, quickly escalated into widespread looting and vandalism across Luanda, Hambo, Benguela, and Huila, prompting a government emergency response and assurances of national stability. However, officials blame infiltrators for escalating the violence, while protesters condemn the fuel subsidy cuts that have sharply raised transportation costs in the oil-rich but economically strained country. And now to sport for some excitement. The Super Falcons have staged a jubilant victory parade through Lagos after clinching their 10th WAFCON title. Crowds of fans lined the route from Constantine to Echo Hotel, celebrating the team's continental triumph. The team had recently been honored by President Tinubu with national awards and monetary gifts. Nigeria D Tigers will face Cameroon in the quarterfinals of the 2025 Women's AfroBasket in Abidjan today. Head coach Rena Wakama urged her players to elevate their performance, noting both teams remain unbeaten. She emphasized that this stage marks the business end of the tournament and called for focus on set objectives. To other sports now, Emmanuel Michael and Adesu Alsabohe have emerged champions at the 46th CBN Senior Tennis Championship held at the MKO Abiola Stadium in Abuja, thrilling fans with intense performances in the men's and women's singles finals. Michael defeated Prosper Okonkwo 7-5, 2-6, 6-3, while Osabohe rallied past a multi of Blessing 3-6, 5-1, 6-4 to claim their respective titles. Representing the CBN Deputy Governor, Akama Ali reaffirmed the bank's decades-long commitment to youth development and national unity through sports. And as a full cycle here on the news, a quick reminder that we are on DSTV channels 365 and Star Times 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Uyi Agumofwegbe. On behalf of my colleagues, we say thank you for watching and bye-bye.